Good evening. The Design Review Board No.1 public meeting of October the 15th is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board reconsideration and appeals is available by the table by the front door. Please note that all appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Board Member Eliano?
Here.
Board Member Insua is absent. Board Member Palmer?
Here.
Board Member Simonian?
Here.
Chairperson Yu?
Here.
Report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on October 8th, 2009. Oral communications. I have no cards for oral communications. Chairman
Neither
Yu?
do I. Yeah.
At this point in time, I'd like to turn the meeting over since there are no staff announcements or items on the consent calendar.
Welcome to Design Review Board 1. We have two items on the agenda today, so we'll just move along to the first one. 1 PDR 2009-055-A, 1970 Rimcrest Drive.
Okay, good afternoon. The project before you with the case number 1 PDR 2009-055-A, located at 1970 Rimcrest Drive, is construction of a new detached 965 square foot pool house. It's also include a roof deck and stepped planter at the rear on a site with a single family which has got 3 stories on the back and 2 stories on the front facing the street. The lot is 98,000 square foot. The pool house will be located behind the house and will not be visible from the street. The existing stair to the side of the pool house, a smaller planter, and short concrete walls will be removed to allow for the new pool house. The proposed pool house with its roof deck will be located immediately west of existing pool and in an area of the site where it begins to slope. The pool house is tucked into the slope of the site such that the roof deck is located 3 steps below the existing deck. Stepped planter at the rear of the new pool house help to integrate the pool house into the surrounding topography. The proposed pool house is located on the sloping section of the lot at the rear and behind the existing residence at the rear of this site. It is below the ground level and cannot be seen, as I mentioned before, from the street. Decks are common features in this neighborhood, and proposed pool house with a roof deck is appropriate to the neighborhood. The pool house will not significantly add to the massing on the site. The western and northern portion of the site slopes, as I said before, sharply, and the roof deck of the pool house will be located approximately 2 feet below the existing deck. Adjacent property to the north and west are approximately 92 feet and 166 feet away from the proposed project. Therefore, the minimal increase in mass created by the new building will be negligible. The property immediately to the site of this project will be the most impacted, being more than 11 feet away from the project. The adjacent house has a large projecting west-facing deck which extends beyond the house and overlooks the hill below. Since the proposed pool house follows the slope of the site and the height of the building is a modest 11 feet 8, and the new deck is below the level of the existing deck and pool, its impact on the southern neighbor is minimal. The existing residence will be untouched and maintain its modern Spanish style. The proposed pool house has a contemporary design. Overall, the pool house and the rooftop deck are appropriate to the neighborhood. The proposed railing of the roof deck and the descending stair leading to the pool house consist mainly of glass, which allow view beyond to be visible. The glass railing is consistent with the contemporary style of the pool house. With regards to privacy, the zoning code requires that new development in R1R zone not unreasonably impact the privacy of buildings and outdoor spaces of nearby properties. The proposed project includes a 965 square foot pool house with a roof deck. Because of the use of proposed building, which is living space, and the size of the roof deck, both components of the project needs to be evaluated with regard to privacy. The properties to the north and west, as I said before, are approximately 92 and 166 feet away from the proposed project. And given the significant distance between these properties and the proposed project, it is not anticipated that the project will create privacy concern related with regard to this property. The neighboring property to the site south includes a large deck projecting over the hills below. No windows are proposed to the side of the pool house facing the neighboring properties, and no reduction to the existing setback is proposed either. Staff recommends approval of the project with one condition. Plants proposed for the new step planters adjacent to the pool house shall be drought tolerant and appropriate to this location. This concludes my presentation. If there is any question, I'll be happy to respond.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay.
One quick question. The section up here where we have the building right against the pool. Have there been any studies, as you know of, if there's any structural studies of how they're going to shore that pool area while they're doing this addition?
No.
No.
As I know.
No other questions?
Okay, they're not that much. This is existing natural grade, and they're not cutting that much into the hillside to make it unstable. But I'm sure engineering department will ask for further information.
Any other questions?
We discussed what the says concrete retaining walls.
Yes.
They're not a decorative surface.
The city asked them for what they're proposing, which is on that sample board. If you look at it, that is the type of the finish where the city is asking.
To clarify, that was a recommendation by city staff. Of course, the DRB has the option to disagree.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. We have one card for this project. So we'll call Evelyn Baktamian. designer for this project. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Evelyn Baktamian, and I'm the designer for this project.
Okay. It's your time. You can tell us.
Well, Jolie went over everything that was to say.
If you could just speak into the mic, please. Thank you.
You were asking about the concrete walls, the board formed.
That was one of the questions.
That was one of the questions. Yes, we had some other studies with stacked stone and of different scale and everything. And during our several meetings with Stephanie, this was something that she recommended that would be it would blend a little bit easier into the hillside because we're actually trying to split the house from this pool room. The house has a different character, and if we were to carry that into the pool room, I think it would be a little too loud and it wouldn't fit into the hillside.
Mm-hmm.
So this is that's the reason why we chose those materials and the colors.
So you just want to answer questions that...
Yes, if there are any, I would.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah,
for-
I'm not sure what grade these trees are at, where it's located. Might have a conflict with the adjacent house view, how far it is located down below their deck, but it appears to be right in this area, which would afford them, might block their view. So you might consider that with whatever trees are
Okay.
proposed, that it not block their view.
Okay.
So the existing deck that's there now, it's this level here?
Yes, that's the existing deck.
So is this an existing retaining wall, or is this a new retaining wall?
That is an existing retaining.
That's an existing retaining
Yes.
wall, I see. And this is an existing footing,
Yes,
and all this is new?
all that is new, yeah.
This is new. And so you're maintaining the existing retaining wall and footing, you're furring out a wall and waterproofing it and so forth.
Exactly.
And that's going to be the rear of the structure. And this new slab, is it a wood slab? Is it a
No,
wood floor?
it's
or
a
is
concrete.
it
It's a
concrete?
concrete slab.
And it's slab on grade. Are you filling this area in, or is it going to open like it's depicted here?
It is going to be open, yeah.
And so, have you looked into how this connection is going to occur between a new slab and an existing retaining wall?
Well, actually, the footing that's drawn there, that one is just kind of a recommendation of the engineer. We haven't really gone, through it thoroughly to actually design that footing, but that will be done.
Okay. These planters over here, this is the board forming,
Yes.
Concrete?
Yes,
That we're
both
talking
of those walls, the first one and the one on top.
and this one.
Yes.
And what is this? Is this board formed as well?
No.
This is just regular concrete?
Yes, so that's behind everything. That's
Right. Okay.
that wall won't be seen.
What type of windows are you proposing?
We have solid fiberglass windows. You can see it. The large picture windows with awning, small awning windows above.
So the drawings say wood, but they're actually, what's proposed is fiberglass?
Yes, they are fiberglass. I'm sorry, I
Fiberglass,
wasn't
okay.
aware.
A fiberglass with wood inside, or are they completely all fiberglass?
It's a
I
solid
think that's what we're,
All fiberglass?
all fiberglass is what we're,
Paintable? Paintable?
They actually come in bronze.
But you can paint the fiberglass.
So these planters don't go into the soil, they're just on the solid bottom?
Yes.
And how much soil is in those planters?
Again, that's something that will be determined.
That's not going to work.
Because if these are 2-foot intervals, it looks like less than a foot of soil, and that's not going to be able to support that.
Are the windows, it looks like there's an upper portion that might be decorative. Is it operable in any way?
Yes, those are the awning windows. If you see it on the materials board, there's a little sketch.
Okay.
Do you see?
Because I see the sketch, but on your drawing, it's almost like a 6-inch, 8-inch portion, and I don't think that's big enough to be operable in your section. Maybe a foot.
What part is that?
I was just, the line that they're showing is here.
Oh, I see, right.
So, I mean,
Barely anything.
proportionally, that's not what that is, so. You're saying you're planning on having an operable
Yes,
portion
yeah.
awnings.
The-
Okay.
This window that's drawn, that you see in the section, is just a one-piece, it's just shown as a one-piece glass, but there's two components to that opening.
Okay, because all your elevations match that proportion, so. But if you say they're operable, we'll
Right, yes,
change
they
it to
are
that. That's
operable.
fine. Okay.
If you see it,
Okay. Now, in any of the ideas, did you look into having some sort of overhang or some kind of fin element that would block the sun? Because that's a lot of glass on that, I guess, it's southwestern orientation.
right. We actually didn't want to protrude out of the hill any more than we already have. We were aware that the sun would be a factor in that room, but the reason it wasn't really, didn't protrude the deck out, or
Because that could have actually been a pretty nice architectural feature that you could have probably added to it. I know that you were trying to tuck it in there, but
yes.
it's sort of a bunker like with a lot of glass, and so to have some other element might have helped to try to hide that a little bit. But
I think we could probably pull out a portion of the deck.
okay. We have other questions. I know the time went off, but
My other question is, so this is an existing spa, existing pool, and then an existing planter. And then is this new space that's created going to hug the existing profiles of these?
Yes.
It can be very difficult to build. Very difficult. Yeah, structural nightmare. Okay. I've been
Okay.
that the spa and the pool and the planter.
because that was designed with that planter helping to buttress it, so that's not our
engineering.
Any other questions?
I had one question.
Oh, go ahead, one more question.
The deck is solid concrete, right? And then, because you don't show any, not that it really matters on the exterior, I'm just curious, there's no columns or anything like that in the structure, but I'm sure there'll be some.
There'll be some.
Because you can't really span that kind of a span with concrete like that without any
It's a
support.
cantilever
So
deck.
Right.
as long as the supports don't end up being in the front, because then it would impact the exterior, and then we'll have to look at it. But if the columns are in the interior, then that's okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm saying that too. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak on this project that would like to? No? Okay, then we'll close the session and we'll discuss. Mr. Simonian, would you like to get us started on this one?
I get to go first, huh?
Just because you're on my list.
Well, we have a situation where we have an existing home that's a certain style, and what we're doing is adding a pool deck and a pool recreation room, going on a contemporary manner to really tuck into the hillside, and fundamentally I think that's a good idea. In fact, to go down the path of the board form concrete, I think that will blend quite nicely. Then if we use a lot of the ornamental stone and so forth, because then that's going to draw more attention to this structure. As far as the overall layout, nestling it into the hillside and having a planter in front of it is the right way to go as well. It follows the guidelines of the hillside design guidelines and so forth, where you want to nestle it into the hillside and you want to have basically a planter in front of it where vegetation could grow and further camouflage the structure. So as far as orientation, as far as style, I think so far so good. The applicant has gone down the right path, and the overall location on the site seems to work as well. I brought out some questions and concerns about how structurally this is going to work, because it's always a good idea when you're doing something on a hillside to think of the structure first, because if you come back later after doing your structure and things have changed, then you got to go through the process again, which is a costly, time-consuming thing. So, as far as the location is concerned, as far as the orientation of it being nestled, as far as the planter location, all that, I think, are good directions for this project to go. The overall glass railings, they're certainly not cheap. They're very expensive, and they're elegant, and they're quite nice, because when you're looking at the project from far away, you don't see this kind of heavy guardrail system, and it's translucent, it's transparent, which is exactly what we want. A lot of windows, operable windows on top. That's also a good idea. I would suggest making the top awning windows perhaps a little bigger, as Mr. Yu is suggesting, in which case that would be much more of an operable window, because in reality when you have this, you're buying 3 windows. You have your fixed window, window number 2, window number 3, and if you're paying all that money, you might as well have something that's operable and works. So as far as the orientation, the design, the language, I have no issues with. My concerns, and I really should emphasize concerns, are structurally, in that you're hugging an existing spa that's an octagon, and then you're switching shapes and you're following this straight line into another octagon. And so, when you're digging this out, you got to, they're going to be drilling these piles in there and shoring this. It's going to be very difficult to do. So you might want to think about that and leave some room, maybe let these existing items be a thing of their own, and then you build your own new wall away from it. Something to consider. This section over here, when you're building a planter and you're suspending a planter and you're putting dirt on top of it, it's very inefficient. What you want to do is have the soil of the planter sitting on the natural grade, so you're not putting stress on the foundation system, and so that way you don't have to engineer those planters to take on that load. So you really don't need this back wall here. If you just have your board forming here, which is the way they're going to form this concrete anyways, you have this board formed planter in the front and in the back, and then you have the soil in here resting on natural grade, is much more efficient, and that's what I would suggest you go with. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to span that, as Mr. Aliano suggested, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to connect a structural slab onto an existing retaining wall. That's why you might want to push it back a little bit. That said, those are all, technical structural things which might come back to haunt you later, so I suggest you consider them. But the overall orientation, design, and the language, I don't really have an issue with. We have a lot of window, which is nice, because when you're looking at it from below and you're looking up into it, you don't see a lot of mass. But we could certainly soften things up if that's where the board is going, and those are secondary things. But the overall location, I don't think is bad, and there aren't anybody from the neighborhood that has come out in objection to it. So I assume you've either contacted everybody or everybody's online, but since no one's here objecting to it, I assume that even the neighbors are okay with it as well. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Can I ask, on the planters, you were mentioning there should be Can you just explain a little bit further on the planters?
Well, we have this case on here, or this tile, that turns into, a retaining wall. And then you have another pile here that turns into a retaining wall. And so you don't really need to create this concrete bottom. They don't need to create this concrete shelving to, support the planter. The soil could literally rest between these two retaining walls on the natural grade, which will take a lot of stress off of these two piles. Because if they're taking on the load of the planters, these planters have to get deeper, 24 inches or more, to support any kind of legitimate vegetation. And in so doing, piles will have to get bigger. So that's just a suggestion, to have a real planter there so they could grow some real trees to really camouflage the building. And that way, they'll take less of a structural, the structure will be working that much less, and they'll have better planters by doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aliano.
Great, thank you. Yes, I agree with all your comments. Very good comments. So I won't repeat. I just want to add a few more things. Aesthetically, I think there's some things that could be done to make the deck feel more in touch with that hillside. And they're very easy things to do. I think for one thing, I would, since you're going to use fiberglass windows, which I have no issues, especially if you're going to paint them. They tend to look really nice when they're painted by, with a brush. Or I would say that if you're going to go in that direction, for one thing, I agree. I think that the small mullions or muttons at the top, I think those are really out of place. I don't think they go with this. I think the idea here is really to create a room where you can look out and have nothing in front of you because you're trying to get the view. And keep it at that. I think the little detail of the muttons kind of, it's not clear to me what it's trying to do. It's trying to add some detail, but at the same time it's really out of place because it's a very modern looking structure. It's all glass with the railing and the metal and the railing. So I would say probably those muttons should not be there. Furthermore, I think, to me, to have these big windows and have these very thin supports in between the windows, because you got to have something. Most likely, if your engineer puts the columns inward from the edge, you could probably do all those windows. All that elevation could be just continuous windows that are all tied together. The manufacturers can do that. When you buy units, they tie them to you and you make them look all one piece. I think that would be a good way to go, because I don't think that, for one thing, the supports that you have between the windows are going to be enough for the concrete slab. You're probably going to have more substantial columns because you got shear issues there. So those columns there appear to be maybe a foot, between the windows. So my suggestion is, if you're going to have columns there that are just for the windows, they're just architectural, not structural, and the columns are inside, then those, I'll point them out. So what are the elevations? I was talking about these little supports right here. One scheme is from the edge of this door to the edge of the other door. So go from door to door, from here to there. I think all that should read as if it's all part of the window system. Because I think from a distance, especially if you paint a dark color and with the glass, all of this is just going to disappear. It's going to blend. It's going to get reflections from where it's probably going to be inward.
If your structure exactly there, these are probably going to be much thicker. And that will change things, so you have to decide. So we're judging this today. We don't know what you're going to do with the structure. So we're assuming the structure is not going to be visible. So if these are not structural, I would say two things. Either you fill in that panel and the header. You fill in that in with a paintable material, either fiberboard or even wood,
and flush it with the windows, so that the window and these panels are all painted, so it looks like a window system. Option 2 is to not even have these things, and let the structure internally support the deck, and then have the window people basically combine these windows, basically they have special structural support to, create some very thick mullion verticals, but that's okay. I mean, it's probably going to be a lot thinner than that. And so that's option 2, is to make all of that look like one piece.
I'm not sure that's near on the sides, but you could probably use a different kind of railing system there that complements the glass. But this is what we have here today, so that's what we're reviewing, and I would say that's acceptable unless plan department, if you have another idea and they want to review it, I would say you could probably use some kind of cable system or something that the contrast. That way, this piece here looks more like a little crown over this piece, and the railing on the side are just utilitarian. Really, they're not there to really attract attention. Let's see. I think planters. The planters, I think the way you stepped them is good, and it's not clear on the notes whether it's going to be concrete block or concrete. So I would say pick one of them. But if I were to give you my suggestion, I'd say because of the landscape. Not the landscape, because of the natural terrain around this area here, these walls I think want to be as rustic as possible. So that, again, they blend with the hillside, and then the glass, the void, and all that. And this structure should not be as visible as the neighbors. The neighbors is very visible because it's heavy, it's white, there's railing, it's just not as nice as this is going to be. So I would say use the board forming, and have these really nice contrasting boards that create shadows and look really rustic. And then I would probably even try to get away from standard gray, maybe add a tint of a beige or some kind of a natural earth tone color, again, to blend all this stuff with the landscape. I agree with the comments on the landscaping as well. So I think I said enough.
Just a clarification. Board Member Aliano, you were suggesting that the window system be drawn as a window system. Right now it's drawn as if they're punched openings.
Right, with very thin plastic.
Right.
They don't look.
Yeah, and I think the intention was always that it's a window system. I think that's just an error in the rendering. That's my perception. Yeah, I just wanted to double check that you weren't recommending all glass buck glazed system for it, but you were accepting that there would be.
No, there'd be vertical. Yeah, that'd be very heavy.
Yeah, you were accepting that there would be a vertical there. Right. You weren't requesting a buck glaze system there, but that it'd be a window system rather than part of the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll see verticals, glass, and the verticals could be as thick as they have them if they want to use that thickness, or it could be part of the window system. The window people will be able to take window standard section that they make, and then they combine them. They have a special system, and they get really thick, but it would look like a big, thick mullion, which I think would look appropriate.
Right, and then the horizontals. We thought that the horizontals were so that on the top they could be operable, so that there would be some passive ventilation.
Yeah, that's
so that it wasn't for decoration.
If that's the idea, these are going to get a little bit thicker.
They'll be a little thicker, and the windows would be a little
That would
larger.
read much better.
So you don't object to that?
No, they
Okay.
look like buttons.
Right, they're just
kind of
drawn
funny.
incorrectly.
Right.
Okay, thank
So
you.
they'll be like hop or awning.
That's right.
That's right. That'll be fine. That'll look good. Thank you.
I would agree with all the comments that have been made, but I would like to emphasize that I think those planters do have to have the depth to go into the natural soil, especially if they're going to be screening some of the retaining walls. it doesn't state other than the deck and the stairs will be concrete, but I would suggest that it not be the white concrete, and maybe the steps had the same tint of a natural color to match the retaining walls. Otherwise, I agree with all the other comments.
And the board forming, you were intending to be horizontal, right, not verticals? Okay.
There was one comment about the potential for removing the top planter. I believe Board Member Simonian made that comment. So I think when you get to discussion, maybe to discuss that a bit, because that top planter does help to screen that the concrete foundation wall. So that's something that we would have a question about how the board would like to go.
Is the top concrete wall and the bottom concrete wall, are they the same material?
My understanding is that the planter walls that are exposed are all proposed to be board-formed concrete,
Okay.
and the structural wall will be concealed, but that top planter wall was intended so that at the floor line you would get some planting that would spill over, and then you'd have another layer of planting that would spill over. So, because I heard you suggest to remove that top planter altogether, which would remove some of the screening of that concrete. So I just wanted to point that out as a difference, a different recommendation that we heard that we would need clarification on.
My thought was that, in order to have, substantial vegetation, we're going to have some depth in these planters. And, what's going to happen in reality is they're going to, pour this pile, whether it's a 24-inch or 30, whatever inch in diameter, they'll stop it. That'll be the key, and then they're going to board form this concrete wall. That's probably what they're going to do. And so if they board form this and they board form this, then you would have two board form concrete walls, which is very efficient because you'd have to build it anyways. And then what that would allow to do is in this elevation is they could slope this dirt a little bit to actually, reduce the height of the rear retaining wall. And then they could put some nice shrubbery, and they could have maybe the landscape architect could give us some more thoughts on it, maybe a couple of rows from small to mid to taller ones or vice versa and whatnot. So then there'd be this layering of landscaping. And so then this wall would be a lot smaller because then there would be the sloped dirt going up into it, which is actually helping the structure when there's dirt on both sides. There's less stress on it. That's where I was going.
That makes sense if the board agrees that the sloping of dirt of that planter on the exterior would work and that would hold. That's something that we can condition.
Yeah, I think the idea is good. What I would be concerned about is that, plants die, eventually, they have to be replaced, and sometimes they don't get replaced. Mm-hmm. So I wonder what would happen if plants don't grow the way they're supposed to, and they don't get replaced, then you end up with a berm there, Then you end up with an exposed foundation wall for that wall.
Yeah.
It's a south-facing also,
Right.
southwest, so you're going to get extreme conditions.
So the way it is right now, even if the plants there are not maintained or they're weak, you always have this nice wall that kind of screens the footing.
Well, yeah, absolutely, because, what you're saying is if this planter dies, then you have this, decorative
You end up
wall.
with a berm of dirt that may not.
And so, assuming, let's say, then the planter goes straight across, and then the same decorative material is used here, which is board forming.
Well, they could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
just
could do
a
that.
thought about the sloping is to reduce mass, but
So I think what we're saying is we're not opposed to having two planters, it's just we need the depths to be greater than what they are now.
Right.
So
I'm just
Well,
trying to...
I think that's a good thought, though. I like your idea. Because really, what is the planter trying to do? The planter is trying to create another zone for planting, right? But you're saying, what if the planting phase, you still do a nice finish on the foundation wall,
Right.
and then you just plant stuff in front of it.
Right.
So now instead of having two concrete planes, you have one concrete plane, and the second plane is all landscape.
Yeah, much more
See,
efficient.
that could be kind of nice. That's costly, I think, too, from construction, because there, the way it is right now, you're going to have two footings, one for the first plant and one for the other. And then chances are you'll be choking the plant at the top because you have so much concrete there that you won't be able to even get, that
Anything
much drainage.
substantial in there, yeah.
You have to have weep holes on the wall. So I don't know. I kind of like that. It does change things a little bit because now what you're saying is that second planter becomes basically a hedge, right, or some kind of planting zone.
Suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, we can make it
They have
as
enough
as
direction.
an option. Yeah.
I think they have enough direction to.
Yeah.
Or they could work with the applicant and see what's most efficient for you.
His idea work. I think that would be nice too. In fact, it would look less massive, I think,
Right.
than what they have now. Because now all you have is you have the hill, a planter, and greenery, and the window. And so this concrete wall is kind of in between those green zones, which would be kind of nice.
I
Still
just have a
the ball
couple
forming on the
comments.
footing.
I think that was a great idea regarding the windows. If you wanted to go with something like that, where it does read more of a single window going across, I think that's a good idea. If you decide to have some kind of operable, I think it'd be recommended that you make them operable, just because then you can take advantage of the breeze coming through and not have a conditioned space all the time. I also agree with tinting the concrete to an earth tone, warm color, maybe to try to blend it in better with the hillside. The planter, I think it definitely needs to have enough depth for it to be able to support planting, and whichever way you do it. I think the two planters is fine with me, or single planter with sloped, whichever way. I noticed on the pictures the pool equipment is right in that area. Is that something that's going to be relocated to? Is that here? I don't know if your neighbors are going to be too crazy about staring into it. It's okay? Okay. And I just had two suggestions for you. And I mean, the project itself I think is great. I think the pool house having out there, being able to go out there and have a room where you can actually take advantage of the views, and it's an enclosed space you can enjoy. And talking about that, I guess one thing that I was thinking of was, well, with your staircases that you have on both sides, why sort of make it so claustrophobic? And if you have a view all the way across, I mean, why not take advantage of that? I would just suggest, maybe you could turn the staircases inward and use them as part of your support system to hold up this wall here, because then you have a double wall system that you can try to buttress the existing wall. Just a suggestion. Then you can open up sort of a 180-degree view all the way across. Because then as you're looking at this thing all the way on the other side as well, it's nice to have sort of this continuity of the glass and the slab coming at you, and to have sort of this, glass coming down in the staircase, glass coming down in the staircase. It kind of creates sort of a bookended effect that maybe is not as nice as it could be if it was just all glass going across. And my second suggestion would be try to take advantage of some kind of brow piece that maybe protrudes out to create a lot of shadow lines on the glass. I think that would make it really interesting. Maybe, I don't know, some kind of thin element, maybe not too heavy, that'll keep some of the sun off that glass, so then you're not sitting in there, because the first 10 feet is going to be just, like 90 degrees all the time with the sun coming in. So those are just my suggestions. But all the other things that we talked about, I think, are very good to take into. So let's see what the motion comes up, and then let's see how this goes. Do we have any motions that we want to consider?
We read back
There's a lot of stuff that we talked about.
we have that read back?
Yes. The trees to the south might block the neighboring view. Reconsider the location of these trees. The planters need to be deeper to allow the landscaping as shown. Extend the proposed deck over the hills. Any proposed column should be located on the interior side of the proposed pool house. Make the awning windows larger. Consider providing a distance between the existing deck and proposed retaining wall. Reconsider the design of the planter by removing the top concrete board. No mutton on the awning windows should be proposed. Either propose curtain wall with structural support behind, or the post between the windows need to be wider to provide required support. Make the planter face as rustic as possible to blend with natural landscape. Propose earth tone color concrete. Consider locating the stairs inside the pool house.
I wanted to.
Should you get them all?
I wanted to make one clarification on the. You said something about the support between the windows
The
to be
post.
wider.
Yeah.
I wasn't really intending that. What I meant was we're judging basically what we have on the wall there. It shouldn't get any wider because then it's a whole new different animal. So they either combine the windows through a window
Curtain wall,
system, or
yeah.
that space that they're proposing will be filled with a paintable material that blends with the window frames.
Basically, I think how the condition should read is that the windows should be all part of a window system, and that there shouldn't be a wall separating each window.
Correct.
So I think we'll
Yeah,
condition it in that way. And what we did understand is that the hopper or operable windows at the top are desirable, but may need to be larger in order to function correctly.
Right.
And then we also had a note that any tint that was provided for the concrete, the stairs and all of the new concrete should be consistent with that tint as well. That there should be a consideration of perhaps making one planter if that would help get the planting into the natural grade. But that part is only a consideration. The primary intention of the board and the condition portion is that each planter needs to go down to the natural grade.
Right.
And any concerns, structural concerns about columns or shoring up the pool, etc., we'll make those as considerations to be verified with building and safety.
Can I just add one more thing? The pool equipment, can we just make sure we have a screen around that?
Okay, so we want a condition to relocate the pool equipment
close to
and make certain that it's screened in a manner that's appropriate with the design. Was there also a consideration for splaying the stairs outward that you wanted to include, so that, and that would actually change the design considerably, but that was a suggestion to get a more 270-degree view, if you will. So we can add that as a consideration, if the board agrees.
On that topic, on that note, because Mr. Yu is making some great points. He's saying, if you turn your stairs in, you'll get much nicer of a view. And Mr. Aliano made some great points as well about the structure and how it's going to affect the windows. And of course, how you're going to hold this up and how is this deck going to connect to the existing grade. What I would suggest is you have all these conditions. Before going back to staff with your next proposal, is to meet with a structural engineer and then do a schematic design and really figure out how this structure is going to be built and how the structure is going to be integrated into the architecture and what's the most efficient way for you to build it. From that, I think you could make a lot of these decisions, whether to move the structure inside and have this window system, or to have it, or to move the structure out and have it actually come in between the window systems and the structure, and the windows move farther apart. Do you want to, flip those stairs in or out? And so all of a sudden, those decisions will be really easy to make because they'll be based on hard structural facts. And so if we want to make it a consideration, great. We could make it a consideration, and if that works with their design, then they could
Right. No,
integrated.
this wouldn't be a consideration.
Yeah.
This was,
But I think it's really smart for you to do that.
so do we have a motion for the other items that we've discussed? Sounds like we want to bring it back then, right? Or, think.
Does it have to come back?
You think you just let them?
Yeah. I
Because
don't-
what if they do change it to something?
To the
What if they
steering-
do spray the staircases out? Are we okay with approving it that way?
I'm,
Well, I think it's going to be up to staff to realize if it's a major change, then they probably need to bring it back.
Just send it back.
yeah, those are my feelings as well.
Yeah, I think it should
Then
be.
let's make a motion for that.
Okay.
I move for approval with the conditions and recommendations stated.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion to approve with condition was done by Mr. Aliano, Ms. Palmer seconded. This is the roll call. Board Member Aliano,
Yes.
Board Member Palmer,
Yes.
Board Member Simonian,
Yes.
and Chairman you.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes by 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you and good luck. So we'll move to the second project on our agenda. It's 1-PDR-2009-059-A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Give you a quick tour through the plans, and I'll give you my presentation. As mentioned, this is case 1-PDR 2009-059A, located at 3761 Hillway Drive. I have a site plan for you that shows Hillway Drive with Whiting Woods down below. It's a double frontage lot. Existing single-family house with a two-car attached garage. The applicant is proposing approximately 800 square foot addition to the side and rear of the subject house. I have photos for you to show the existing condition of the house. It is built with siding, stone at the bottom, as well as concrete block. Proposed elevations. The existing siding will be replaced with hardy plank and the stone at the bottom. Got a material sample board as well as a list for you. Existing roof plan as well as the proposed. The neighborhood survey with the photos and the map. In addition, we have a landscaping plan. There are some oak trees on the property, and the applicant has met with the city arborist and has obtained mitigation measures, which I believe were attached to your staff reports. Also, we have the existing floor plan and the proposal at the rear, as well as the existing elevations. This project is a first-time submittal for final review. The existing property is developed with an 1,836 square foot, one-story, single-family residence and an attached 726 square foot, two-car attached garage. The property is irregularly shaped and is a double frontage lot. As mentioned, it slopes down from Hillway Drive to Whiting Woods Road. The existing house is built on the flat portion of the lot and is accessed off of Hillway Drive. The proposal is to construct 866 square feet on the first floor as a first floor addition, which will be located to the side and rear of the existing house. Since the addition is greater than 700 square feet, it requires approval by the Design Review Board. The proposed remodel and addition are consistent with the ranch-style architecture of the existing building. The property is zoned R1R, is located in Floor Area District 2, and does comply with all the zoning code requirements. Property is located in the Verdugo Mountains North neighborhood, which is a hillside neighborhood. And according to the guidelines, building in this neighborhood tend to be ranch in style. Materials in the neighborhood vary between horizontal and vertical siding, stucco, and shake siding. The proposed house's floor area is within the neighborhood average. The proposed addition, as mentioned, is in keeping with the existing ranch style. The existing house has a combination of gable and hip roof design. The roofing for the addition will match the existing roof design and material, and the house currently has concrete block, siding, and a stone base. The existing materials for the house will be replaced with the following: horizontal siding, a stone base, and asphalt roof shingles. Proposed addition will utilize the same materials. The existing steel windows on all elevations will be updated to new aluminum-clad wood windows with the same size and operation. The existing wood siding will be replaced with hardy plank horizontal siding. Overall, each elevation relates well to one another and is consistent in detail and the design theme. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed project with one condition. The condition is as such, or a suggested condition, is that the new driveway shall be made up of pavers in sand to allow for permeability. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant and owner are in the audience, and I'm available for any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Doesn't look like it. Thank you. I have one card for this project. Mr. Edward Govian. Please state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. My name is Edward Tagobian. I am the architect of this project. My address is 220 South Kenwood Street, Suite 210, Glendale, 91205. I think Brad presented well, and there's not much for me to say, except that I have to add one more thing, that we try to maintain that 50% change. There is a formula in the city of Glendale that perimeter square footage of the exterior walls plus flat square footage of the roof totaled, we should not change more than 50% in order to be considered as not a new house, which in that case we will have a problem with the existing garage. That is why we have, if you look in the roof plan, you will see that we kept the existing portion of the roof and try to add to that roof as to match to the existing. That's all I have to say. There's not much for me to say. If you have any questions, please.
I have a question. It's not clear to me where you propose new retaining wall on that outer area. Could you come up and show us where that?
We have we have retaining wall here, which is very short. Thank you. It is also.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, this retaining wall here, and we have retaining wall here, that those are existing.
Where is the proposed?
Proposed is this one.
That's the proposed.
Yeah, very shallow. Just simply to have a flat surface.
How high
How
is the
far
wall?
do you have to?
Sorry.
Not really. No, we don't have very much elevation differences, very little. Just to, except this corner here that is like about 2 feet lower. We fill that so that we can walk to the back of it, that's it.
How is that retaining wall going to affect that vertical slope that's out there?
The height of that retaining wall will be at most at this corner 3 feet. Gradually it will go to the zero.
Okay.
Do you know what year the original house was?
I'm sorry?
What year the original house was?
I think we have showed the original house plans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the roof plan
Have
is
it in the
there.
video.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay, just wondering.
The applicant may be able to answer that.
There's a wall right here. There's a wall here.
the existing.
Do you have any other questions for the architect? Do you have any more questions for the architect? While we have it.
So this is a new wall from here to there.
Yes.
Right now, there's something here that's going to get removed, right? This is what's holding the dirt. So how much, I mean, obviously this is very little, but I'm concerned about, okay, the top of the wall is at 0.5.
201 to 197.5. So the difference is 4 feet. The 1 foot of it is freeboard, the 3 foot of it is retaining.
Oh, I see. Doing a guardrail of some sort.
Yeah. By the way, if you look to the existing, yes.
The existing, the sill element, that's
Yes.
concrete, right? Or what is it?
I don't remember if it's concrete.
Looks like it. I was just wondering what you were planning on doing with that, because I don't see any of it left.
As far as I remember, that's wood, so I not trust any wood that is old.
Okay. All right.
By the way, now existing is concrete block. That,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's why I
but
said
then
it was
this
concrete.
hardy planks, hopefully that it will make it much more beautiful than it is.
Yeah, this, the new 42, is that like a metal? Is that what you're doing here?
Yes.
On top of 1 foot high concrete block wall. So this is fairly shallow here.
Doesn't it look like a concrete sill?
Well, that's where you're building,
It's a
because you need to,
concrete
you gotta
Oh,
build a
here
foundation.
and here. That is
Yeah, because this looks like some
And then
Right,
the rest is
concrete block, like you're
it
saying.
goes up and becomes zero.
Because if it's there, I mean, why not keep it? I mean,
Right,
make
because,
an element out of it, but
Yeah?
but the railing here is all,
Yes.
it's block?
No. The railing will be like metal railing.
The actual, right, but when you say top of wall though, top of wall is the structure, and then on top of that you have the railing.
3.5 feet.
Right. So the visible height of the wall will be about 3 plus 4 feet. You planning on putting any landscaping?
For sure, yeah. We had a landscape plan.
I don't know, I can't read, but any planting here?
That's a ground cover.
Oh, this right here, okay. Existing.
native planting to remain.
Are you going to, when you do that wall, that whole hillside is probably so a lot of that's going to be destroyed and you're going to have an erosion problem. Planning to mitigate that erosion problem with the new wall, or?
That's something that I have to talk to the landscape architect and an engineer, a civil engineer, to see what will happen if you remove those cactuses.
Mr. Chairman, the staff has put up an aerial photograph that's looking from the south up toward Hillway, if that would be useful in visualizing the house that's there now in the, as well as the surrounding landscaping.
Yeah, so
The approximate
the existing
location.
landscaping is pretty high. I mean, it's not,
So the palm trees are going away. So you keep it.
In fact, if you look at this plans, you will see that it's so much tree here that is not visible up. That retaining wall.
and the wall is block, and then there's metal railing on top of that. But do we don't have a, what kind of block were you planning on?
Decorative concrete block, I think we have mentioned that somewhere.
Because the house has brick, right? Or stone or something. The existing is,
We have submitted this as the finished material, and it will be covered by, because we have existing retaining wall on the back, and we cannot use decorative concrete block.
so
We
you're
have
trying to match that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's it for questions for Mr. Agobian. I don't have any more cards for this project. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on it? at this time?
It's all good.
Okay.
It's kind of nice, too.
Then let's close the session and we'll discuss. Mr. Giuliano, would you like to get us started on this one?
Thank you, sure. So I'm understanding it, the way I'm understanding, you're going to clad the existing with siding, and then you're going to have this stone for the base around the house and clad the chimney as well. 'Cause
Let's open it up again. Go ahead. State your name and address again. Sorry.
Edward Hagobian, 220 South Kenwood, Suite 210, Glendale, 91205. The existing house has similar stones, except that the color is too light. In order to match the whole thing around the house, we'll take out those and put new one, but more or less the same thing.
I see, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, I see it here, I see, right there. Yeah, so it will match that. It's the same design, same aesthetic. It looks nice. Yeah, I see it at the front entry here. So you'll remove the front entry, all that, and replace it with the new? Well, I mean, part of it, because you're going to put siding above. The front entry right now has stone all the way around, right? So you're going to remove that, clad it with siding, and then put some stone at the base. Okay. In looking at the drawings and hearing the architect, this is a very sensitive addition. I think it's very nicely done. It's very cohesive. Everything kind of reads as one thing, and done a nice job sort of making it all look like it was originally designed like that. It doesn't look like an addition at all. I think the only concern that we were having as a group here, I think, was the retaining walls, but I think they're not very high, and especially if they're made out of concrete to match what's around there already, and somehow you provide some landscaping at the base of the retaining walls, I think all this will kind of blend. And the railing that you propose on top, we don't have a design of that, but I'm assuming there will be something very simple out of wrought iron of some sort. And then I think that's about it. I don't see any planting edges around there, but one way to kind of make those walls kind of make them less visible is maybe you could have some planting on top to have planting that kind of cascade outward, maybe in different spots. It's a suggestion, but overall I'm in support of the project. I think it's a very nice project.
Thank you.
I agree with the comments that were just made, and I think it's going to be a big improvement to slope that flat roof that you see along Hillway and with the new trellis effect. I am concerned about the landscaping. This is a pretty nice neighborhood, and at this point in time, 90% of what's there is dead. And I think it would be an opportunity to come up with a landscape plan that might be compatible with the rest of the neighborhood using the water-wise plants. And I have a concern where this retaining wall is going. It is almost a vertical cliff at that point, and to plant something is not going to really be a viable solution. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at, is how the retaining wall is going in, what could be there to soften it, and if all that cactus has to come out, what's going to hold up the hillside. So other than that, I think it's a nicely designed project.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
Can I have a question? There's a planting. What would you propose? I mean, you're saying there's an issue where that retaining wall is, where the new addition is, because it's vertical. It's about 4 feet vertical in terms of the retaining wall, plus the sloping, site there. You can't plant anything at the base. Could they plant something at the top?
Sorry. I think it depends on if the cactus would be hiding it at this point. If part of the cactus were removed, I think the rest of it would screen the retaining wall, but I would think there still would be erosion, so maybe there needs to be some erosion mitigation.
You're talking about here, right?
Right, because it's about a 15-foot high slope in that area. But I don't know that anything at the base by the street would be affected by doing the retaining wall. So it's not going to be open, highly visible, but it would be open to erosion.
It's all yours.
I generally agree with all the comments. I think it is a very nice design in that you're adding to an existing home, but you're doing it in a very subtle way, and you're using materials that are in line with the ranch style and so forth, with the horizontal siding and the deep overhangs and the rest of that language, and that seems to work well. Looking at the plan as well, I mean, it's somewhat of a contemporary plan inside in that it's got this linear corridor with spaces that come off of it, which work quite nicely as well. And there's a lot of access to the backyard via the living room and the master bedroom and bedroom number 2 and bedroom number 3. They all open up into this yard that's created, and I could see why you're wanting to create that retaining wall, because, you know, everything comes out into it. In fact, our perspective shows, you know, these sliding windows, which might be Fleetwoods or whatever they are, coming out into the side yard, which is quite nice. And so I support the project as well, along with some of those comments that were made.
Thank you. I just have a couple comments. I think it's a job well done. I think it's sort of good to see sort of this ranch style and the painted, you know, block that was there kind of gets this sort of aged look to it, giving new life to it with the horizontal siding. The colors, I think, are interesting, and I think they're vibrant. They're good. My only thing would be, you're using aluminum-clad windows, and you're going to white, right? For me, it kind of just seems like, you know, when you use white on such a high-quality window, that it always almost screams, I look like vinyl, you know, and so, I mean, I leave the color up to you, but I was just saying maybe consider maybe a richer color to go along with the rich palette that's already there. Let's see. I think the sill issue is going to come up. I don't know how. You are the architect, so you'll deal with it. And but I think here it's sort of just ignored or either removed and windows enlarged or something. But I think that's something that's going to come up and you'll have to deal with. But all in all, I think it's a good project. I think it improves the house greatly, and look forward to seeing it done. So thank you.
One last question. Are you removing some of the existing windows, or are you replacing all the windows, or just
They're all right.
They're all replaced, correct?
Yeah, we're replacing all of them.
Well, we can't have cross
So
communication.
you need to come to the mic.
Well,
Just nod your head.
name and address for the record, please.
David Crone, 4015 Vista Court, La Crescenta, 91214. Yeah, the windows that are there are horrible. So
You're replacing with
yeah, they all
new-
have to come out. They're crank,
Right.
steel crank windows, and most of them don't work. So they all have to come out and be replaced. So yeah,
Okay.
and we're not eliminating any windows.
We're not what?
We're not eliminating any windows. We're just replacing them.
Replacing and then adding to the addition. Okay.
Right.
Great.
Thank you. We'll close it back up. So is there a motion that would, I guess we can listen to is there anything that we...
I've got 5 conditions that the board has mentioned. Be glad to read through them if you'd like.
Okay, let's read through.
The first one I have is to ensure there's landscaping at the base of the wall and landscaping growing over the top to mitigate the view of the retaining wall. Second, that the rails on top of the retaining wall should be simple. Third, that the landscaping should be drought tolerant. Fourth, erosion control measures should be observed. And fifth, to consider richer colors for the windows except for white.
That's not that's more of a recommendation, yeah.
And then there was a mention about the sill. Is there a recommendation for providing a sill for the windows?
No, I was just looking at the existing pictures, and they look like concrete sills that were sort of pretty massive. And so I was just wondering if they were going to demo that out or enlarge the window or...
Okay, so is the condition to provide a detail for review by staff, or
No, No, I'm
You're
okay
just
if
going to
it-
leave it up to,
If it
okay.
matches what they have here, I'm okay with whatever they
Okay.
do to it, yeah.
And the reconsideration of a color is a consideration rather than a condition?
Yes.
Okay, and we also had to provide a landscape plan for review by staff and to retain as much of existing landscaping as possible in order to maintain stabilization of the hill. Is that correct?
On that hillside.
On that hillside.
Not much, but
Okay, and we didn't hear this specifically, and I'm not sure this is possible, but I was wondering if what we heard meant to reduce the height of the retaining wall as much as possible, or is that not a concern? Okay, that's not something that we'll add then.
Well, make it as not as visible. Whatever the grades are shown there, they seem to work. But
Okay, and
landscape it so that you can minimize the visibility of it.
so there's a requirement for landscaping at the base of the wall and a consideration for landscaping at the top of the wall as well, but that's only a consideration.
That's all that is.
Okay,
If they can
very
do
good.
it. I mean,
I don't think you can even do landscaping at the base of the wall, so it would be from the top.
maybe from the top.
Okay,
It'd be too
Or it
vertical.
could be either one. I mean,
and so that would be incorporating a planter into that area in front of the wall.
which may not require the railing if you have a planting area there.
Leave that up to them.
That would be nice, if we can remove the railing.
There was one staff recommendation about the driveway being pavers. I think they have that on here as being interlocking pavers.
They got something.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily put it on sand. I think they're just clarifying that it would be
Okay,
on
so we're just
sand.
asking for it to be more permeable.
That's right.
One last
And
thing.
would you like us to retain that condition? Okay.
One other thing I want to add, I think there's an opportunity here because you're cladding the whole building. You get some extra thickness in the walls. When they install the windows, you have a much bigger section. Try to get those windows as recessed as possible. So you get more of a recess on the windows rather than flush them with the siding.
Would you like us to include that as a condition?
I think that would be good, but I don't know how the board feels. I think it would be a missed opportunity otherwise, because now you have a fairly thick wall, and there's no real reason to make these windows flush with the exterior. You could definitely recess them.
Okay, so as a condition, install windows towards the interior of the wall to maintain as much of a recess as possible.
Yeah, no specified dimension, just I leave it to Mr. Agobian. He can work out a detail. That will-
Great, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve based on the conditions.
Seconded?
This will be roll call. Mr. Eliano?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Simonian?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion for approval carries with conditions on a 4-0 vote.
Thank you. And that's it for the cases today, so
Yes. Going back to the agenda, is the approval of the minutes. Those would be the minutes from September 3rd, and all board members were present at the meeting on September 3rd, and then the minutes for September the 17th. And at that meeting, we had Board Member Oliano, Ms. Palmer, and Board Member Yu present.
Okay.
I have three questions on the September 3rd minutes.
All right.
At the bottom of the first page, there's item 6 that says the proposed California driveway shall be replaced with permeable paving at the driveway, recommended quality brick. I thought we had recommended a combination that they had just brick in the Hollywood part and not the entire drive. Am I reading this incorrect? I think it was a mix of concrete and...
Yeah, I remember the way that you're stating it, but and when it was written, I thought that's what we were saying, but you're right, that's not what the condition states.
We wouldn't want to impose a whole brick on sand driveway through that.
Okay, that's right. So we'll make sure that's clarified to the applicant.
And number 9 on the next page, what is the columns should be smaller or lighter. What did that mean?
I think they were showing fairly massive columns.
Lighter meaning?
So smaller.
Okay. And then number 14, brickwork added to the base of the garage. I thought the garage was all corrugated metal, and that we were just going to have them change the doors.
What we heard was that the finishes on the garage should match the finishes on the house.
And I thought he said that they would have to tear the entire garage down to do that, and that was something they weren't able to do. Yeah. I thought the doors were the only thing they could do to it.
I don't remember that part.
Perhaps what we'll suggest to do is that the planner, Dennis Joe, review the tapes
Yeah.
and then get back to you, so perhaps we can continue these minutes to the next meeting to have him clarify that matter.
Because that was an existing garage,
It was.
and I think if you touch it, then code-wise,
was a problem.
wasn't it really close to the property line and all
Yeah,
that?
but
And if
you-
you touch it, you have to bring it up to code.
Only if you remove more than 50% of it, and you could add finishes to it. So they may have claimed that you couldn't add finishes to it, but
They just said if we
You
touch
mean they
it.
deceived us? What?
I was under that
that I
impression.
know that never happens. It may have just been a miscommunication.
We misheard.
So yeah, it's a matter of if you remove more than 50%, then it has to be brought up to code. But there's no reason they couldn't match the finishes.
Fine.
Okay.
So we'll hold that one off then?
No, this would be to
September
hold these
3rd.
minutes off and to have the project planner, Dennis Joe, review the tapes to address condition number 6 for the combination of the driveway, as well as condition number 14 regarding the veneers.
Yes.
That leads us to the minutes of September the 17th.
I have no problems with those. I move that we approve the minutes of September 17th.
Was I at that meeting?
You were there?
Correct. Board Member Aliano, Board Member Palmer, and Board Member Yu. So, Board Member Aliano, would you like to second those minutes?
I will second that.
Thank you. Board Member Aliano, in
Yes.
terms of a roll call, Board Member Palmer,
Yes.
Chairman Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. That said, we have one staff announcement. This would be regarding the upcoming Design Review Board presentation to City Council this coming Tuesday on October the 20th. This will be the meeting at which time all of the board members' comments from the previous 2 study sessions, we had individual study sessions several months ago. Your comments will be presented to the City Council, and they will be deliberating that
This coming Tuesday.
this coming Tuesday, so you are welcome to go ahead and
Towards the
attend.
end, what, on the agenda, where is it at? Is it-
In terms of the agenda, I know, unfortunately,
It's at the end of, but not at the very end. It's not a hearing item. There are actually 2 hearing items afterwards, but it's one of the ordinance items. It's the third action item, I believe, but there are a number of appointments that happen in front of it, and you can come down when the subject comes up, or you can watch it on TV.
Okay.
Just grab a drink and wait for it or something.
right. And actually, the staff report is available online, I believe, starting tomorrow morning, so if you'd like to review the staff report as well. That said, there are no other staff comments. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:45?